My younger sister-in-law was diagnosed as pregnant during her university physical exam, my husband and I advised her to have an abortion and continue her studies, and she readily agreed, with our help. She became successful in her career and found a happy marriage. Later, the thug she had tasted the forbidden fruit with turned into a CEO, unable to let go of his first love, my sister-in-law explained to him, tearfully. I wasn't willing back then. My brother and sister-in-law were afraid that my ruined reputation would drag them down, so they forced me to have an abortion, otherwise, they said they would report you for coercion. The CEO therefore resented my husband and me. He not only cost us our jobs but also hired thugs to teach us a lesson. During the altercation, I was hit on the head and died instantly. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back on the day I learned my sister-in-law was pregnant out of wedlock. I transformed into a fire-breathing dragon and said to my sister-in-law, almost coldly, this major life decision is yours to make. We are your brother and sister-in-law, not your parents. We will not clean up your mess anymore. I was reborn on the day my sister-in-law had her university entrance physical exam. My sister-in-law, Kong Yen, was stroking her flat stomach, showing off to some new classmates. She said she was about to become the youngest hot mom in school. Soon, she'd film some short videos and maybe become a hugely popular influencer everyone envied. The concerned classmates and parents on the scene tried to persuade her to reconsider. Instead, my sister-in-law grew even more excited, passionately discussing examples of people who made a year's salary, or even several years' worth, in a single month by filming videos and doing live streams. In that moment, she must have believed she was going to be the Warren Buffett of the influencer world. She declared confidently, being a hot mom is a niche path that heaven has carved out for me. If I don't take this golden opportunity that's been handed to me on a silver platter, I'll definitely be struck by lightning. My mother-in-law, who had remained silent until then, was so startled by the look in Kong Yan's eyes that she shuddered. Yen, it's not that I don't believe in you, but you're so young, you haven't thought it through completely. Your brother and sister-in-law are educated, why don't you ask them? My mother-in-law looked at my husband and me with anticipation, hoping we would talk Kong Yan out of it. Kong Yan spoke first. What good is graduating from university? You'll still be an underling, working like a slave for someone else. You can't make much money. It's better to seize this opportunity now. Brother, sister-in-law, you'll support me, won't you? My husband's voice was icy cold. Kong Yan is an adult. I have no right to interfere with her decision. Kong Yan gave my mother-in-law a smug look. Brother already agreed. My mother-in-law turned her gaze to me. Before she could speak, I said, without politeness, since I married Kong Zhiyang, I've already worried endlessly about my sister-in-law. I think I've done right by her. Now Xiao Nan is about to start elementary school. I don't have that much energy to put into other people. Besides, what does that golden treasure in my sister-in-law's belly have to do with me? Why ask for my opinion on something like this? Don't you think that's a bit presumptuous? They definitely didn't expect me to become so sharp-tongued all of a sudden. After all, I had always been good-tempered and famously soft-hearted, a bit of a pushover. I could feel the surprise from my husband beside me. He had advised me many times to stop being so selfless and caring for others. I always agreed readily, but promptly forgot. My sister-in-law, for a moment, couldn't accept that the usually meek lamb had transformed into a fire-breathing dragon. She stuck out her neck indignantly. Sister-in-law, did you get out of the wrong side of bed? Are you saying my being pregnant out of wedlock embarrasses you? I didn't think you were that kind of person. Fine, I'll do as you wish and abort this child. Are you happy now? Even a clay Buddha has its limits. In the past, I had let things slide because she was young and I didn't want to lower myself to her level. But now, there was a vendetta of life and death from 2 lifetimes. Who was going to indulge her? In my past life, I had genuinely tried to plan for my sister-in-law's future. I had carefully laid out the potential consequences of giving up her education and the real-life problems she would face giving birth so young, showing her that her decision wasn't a trivial matter. My efforts had been repaid with betrayal and a blow to my head that cracked my skull open, so, even though there might have been a gentler way to wash my hands of the matter, I still went straight for the jugular. Kong Yan, are you deaf or what? You never told us about your early relationship, you never told us about staying out all night. But now that you're pregnant, you expect us to support your brilliant idea. Dream on. From now on, your business is your business. You decide. Don't try to pawn it off on us. We are your brother and sister-in-law, not your parents. We won't clean up your mess anymore." Ignoring my mother-in-law's disapproving look, I brought up the question Kong Yen had been avoiding. "Have you discussed your decision with CFAU? Isn't the baby's father worthy of being consulted?" My sister-in-law's lips trembled, putting on a stubborn front. "I didn't want to put that much pressure on him." "So, the pressure was supposed to go on your hapless brother and sister-in-law, was it?" I wasn't giving her that chance. I had already sent word to CFAU, since he had listened to Kong Yen in the past life and blamed my husband and me for the abortion. In this life, I would give this soon-to-be new parents the opportunity to decide the child's fate themselves. Surely, this time the poop wouldn't be flung in our faces, right? Yen, I'm going to be a father, aren't I? Speak of the devil. CFAU, his hair dyed yellow, wearing his pair of casual shoes, came barreling in like a gust of wind. Ignoring everyone else, he rushed straight to Kong Yen. It was remarkable that his skinny frame could lift her and spin her around. He shouted joyfully, "Ha ha ha, I'm going to be a father, I'm going to be a father." My husband and I exchanged a glance, awkwardly wishing we could just dig a hole with our toes and disappear. Kong Yen ultimately decided to keep the baby. "Mom, look at you, you were almost 40 when you had me. Not only was your recovery poor, but the age gap is so large that my classmates thought you were my grandmother. Other kids' parents are so young, they can be friends with their children. I was so envious." "Oh, my dear daughter, mommy is so sorry for embarrassing you. Don't worry, although Xiao Xie's family has no elders to help, I will definitely help you raise this baby to be plump and healthy." "Mom, you're the best, but the doctor said it's twins. I don't want you to be too tired. Our Yen is so blessed, even being pregnant, she's more efficient than others." I listened to my sister-in-law start her routine of emotionally manipulating my mother-in-law again. This time, I didn't run out to scold her for being ungrateful like I used to. They were mother and daughter. I had just been wasting my effort, trying to be a good person. I deserved having my head cracked open. I listened intently to their conversation. My husband chuckled. "I never noticed how nosy you were before." I shot him a sideways glance. "I bet they'll be mentioning me in just a few sentences. What about you, making you a part-time nanny?" I gave my husband a thumbs up. Sure enough, my sister-in-law strode in triumphantly, followed by my mother-in-law, who looked a bit embarrassed. "Sister-in-law, I heard from Mom that you didn't get your senior professional title this year again. If you ask me, your job has no future. The salary you earn in a month isn't even as much as I spend on a single meal of Japanese food. For my brother's sake, I'll give you a chance to make some money. Quit your job and come be my assistant." I glanced at my mother-in-law, who was smiling sheepishly. I was used to her gossiping. "You want me to give up my stable university job to be an assistant to someone who lives entirely off our mother's pension? What were you thinking? First, tell me, where did you get the money for that 4 or 5,000 yuan Japanese meal? You haven't finished spending the living allowance we gave you, have you?" My sister-in-law looked at me like I was a hick. "Sister-in-law, you haven't been following my Zaya Hongshu or Douyin, have you? I'm a soon-to-be hot mom blogger with almost 50,000 followers now. I post a few pregnancy photos, and they get hundreds of thousands of views. Making a few thousand on a few ads is a piece of cake, and this is only the beginning. As I get more famous, I might not have time for the trivial stuff, since I have to hire someone anyway. It might as well be a family member. Like Mom said, don't worry, even if you were unkind to me, I won't be unjust to you. If you join now, you'll be a founding member, base salary 3,000 a month, commission on top. After I have the baby and you have more responsibilities, I'll bump you up to 5,000, plus a year-end bonus. That's it." I waved my hand like shooing a fly and shooed them out of the bedroom, not looking back. "Since you're so good at making money, don't freeload here anymore. Pay Mom a monthly living allowance from now on. I'd be grateful if you'd just stop making her spend her pension to support you." My sister-in-law persisted. "What about the assistant job? Sister-in-law, give me a definite answer." "Kong Yen, don't even think about it. The only reason your sister-in-law didn't get her promotion was because she made concessions to help get you admitted in the first place. You're so ungrateful. Keep your money-making opportunity for yourself. Bye." I vented my frustration by pinching the soft flesh on my husband's waist. He grimaced in pain, then abruptly stood up and closed the door, locking it. Kong Yan's furious voice came from behind the door. "You're all so ungrateful. You'll be sorry. You look down on me now, but someday I'll make you look up to me." We didn't want to look up to her anyway. She wasn't truly the chosen one, although her influencer career didn't completely crash and burn. Without the prefix of university student, it didn't explode in popularity like she'd imagined. After all, her university enrollment file had been withdrawn. Although the school didn't have a specific rule prohibiting students from marrying or having children, Kang Yan's major was medical imaging. The machines she needed to learn to operate all had radiation, which was obviously unsuitable for a pregnant woman. Moreover, there were rumors that the school was planning to upgrade from a junior college to a university. The number of applicants for all majors was bursting at the seams. If Kang Yan insisted on having the baby, she would have to drop out. From the moment of my rebirth, we had all gone down paths completely different from our past lives, but she was certainly a go-getter. After the children were born, she managed to gain quite a few followers thanks to the good looks of her family of 4. However, I felt she had truly been blinded by money. She even tried to turn the wedding into content. Kang Yan reached the legal age for marriage. My mother-in-law joyfully threw herself into planning her and Xie Feiyu's wedding. During breaks in the ceremony, the bride and groom busily interacted with the camera, along with their twin children. Thank you to the new babies joining the live stream. Today is my wedding, and I'm only 20. Those who know me know that Kwai Kwai and Lulu are twins, almost 3 years old. Thank you, loving you. Never changes, baby. For the Porsche, thank you. The world is so dirty, who cares if I get hurt, baby. For the engagement ring, the wedding guests exchanged awkward glances at this performance disguised as a wedding. Mom, I'm hungry. When is Aunt going to finish the ceremony? How should I know? The MC can't even get a word in. How many times has that? Do you take Xie Feiyu to be your lawfully wedded husband, to support him in sickness and in healthline been interrupted now? Does that mean my aunt doesn't want to marry him? My mother-in-law sat down, scowling. Hearing Xiao Nan's words, she gently slapped his shoulder. Don't talk nonsense. Xiao Nan pouted. Grandma, you're biased. It's not just me saying it. Second grandma and the aunts are saying it too. Second grandma and the other aunts at the main table thought, who starts a wedding banquet after 12 noon? We were just muttering to ourselves. How did they hear? My husband consoled our son. I have a feeling that the babies in your aunt's live stream will be ready for their meal soon too. Just as he finished, the microphone on stage picked up Kang Yan's furious voice. Damn, why was my live stream blocked? My husband gave me a smug look and showed me his phone. I saw the message. Your report has been accepted. Oh, right. Live streaming featuring minors under 16 is strictly prohibited. I realized my husband was mischievous in a quiet, sneaky way. Yen, what are you doing still live streaming at a time like this? My mother-in-law was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, and she had also been the subject of gossip from relatives. Her tone toward Kang Yan was unusually sharp. Oh, Mom, you're so old-fashioned. This is self-media. A wedding live stream is a huge trending topic. Do you know how much money I can make from one live stream? Isn't that right, sister-in-law? I was savoring a bite of braised abalone, slow-cooked with pork ribs and chicken, and I thought to myself, no wonder the chefs at 5-star hotels were so skilled. It was truly delicious hearing Kang Yan's question. I answered absent-mindedly, Mom, don't worry, Yen has hundreds of thousands of followers. She knows more about self-media than we do. Exactly, your daughter is surfing a wave. Otherwise, where would she get the money to buy Hermes and Louis Vuitton every day? Even a pig can fly if it's standing in the right spot. I couldn't help but snicker at the sarcastic back and forth between my husband and son, and I was rewarded with the sight of my sister-in-law's face turning into a palette of colors. Humph, jealousy makes people ugly. Unlike our family's rejection, my aunt, who had been eavesdropping, said enviously, Yen is so successful. Kwai Kwai and Lulu are little internet celebrities too. You must be making at least 400,000 or 500,000 a year, right? Hearing the praise, Kang Yan proudly lifted her head and said disdainfully, what's 400,000 or 500,000, Auntie? Do you know how much this table of wedding banquet costs? Probably 3,000 or 4,000, my aunt prompted. 18,888. Kang Yan got the reaction she wanted, gasping from the guests, when the average wedding banquet cost around 2,000. Her wedding banquet could be called exorbitant, so, if I can easily set up 40 or 50 tables of this, would I make only 300,000 or 400,000 a year? Auntie, who are you looking down on? It took only one sentence from my sister-in-law to take my aunt from surprise to speechlessness. The situation was a bit awkward. Grand Aunt, Mom said girls eating more fish maw can make them beautiful. My son's clear voice rang out, and his little hand turned the lazy Susan so the fish maw dish was in front of my aunt. Oh, Our Xiao Nan knows so much. Your grandaunt is in her 60s or 70s. I'm not a girl anymore. You're still a girl even if you're 100. Watching my aunt grin from ear to ear, I gave my son an approving look. He smiled sweetly and put a piece of scallion braised sea cucumber on my plate. Not to be outdone, my husband served me a bowl of my favorite seafood spicy blood curd. For a moment, we were a happy, harmonious family. Sister-in-law, don't act so impressed by everything. I suppose you should eat as much as you can now. Who knows when you'll get to eat this well again. My brother's little company probably won't last much longer. Although her words sounded worried, the gloating in Kong Yan's eyes was unmistakable. The guests at the table exchanged awkward glances but couldn't very well criticize the bride on her wedding day. Just then, Xiaofeiyu came over, having just settled their children. He heard this and tugged on Kong Yan's sleeve, signaling her to be kinder. I looked at Xiaofeiyu. His hair was now dyed black, and he seemed much more mature than a few years ago. I felt a bit complicated. After all, getting my head cracked open in the past life had partly been his doing, but perhaps it was the butterfly effect. In the past life, by this time he had already been accepted back into the wealthy Xia family and was being educated to be an heir. In this life, he was still following Kong Yan around like a devoted nanny and assistant. Everyone had their own karma. It was good enough that I didn't sabotage them behind their backs. I certainly wasn't going to volunteer advice. My brief pause made Kong Yan think I had nothing to say. She rarely got the upper hand verbally and was feeling very smug. I calmed down my son, who was puffing up like a blowfish, and gestured toward his father. Sure enough, my husband wiped the grease from his mouth with a napkin and looked at Kong Yan like she was an idiot. Kong Yan, the older you get, the shallower you become. If we don't eat it, are you planning to take it all home and freeze it, eating it for the next 10 days or half a month? Besides, your sister-in-law gave you a 20,000 yuan wedding gift. Don't we three deserve to eat this? Before I could add anything, my aunt chimed in. That's right, Yan Yan's mother, my old man and I gave 6,000. I wonder if we're worthy of this distinguished feast. My aunt had been angry earlier but held back because she didn't want to argue with a younger person. Now, seeing her chance, she directly confronted my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law forced a smile. What are you saying, sister-in-law? Haven't you and my brother tasted everything good with your combined nearly 10,000 yuan monthly pension? Don't mind her, she's young and doesn't know better. My aunt didn't press further. Although they had occasional spats, they were still close relatives. Otherwise, she wouldn't have given such a generous gift. Having been publicly embarrassed by my husband and the relatives, my sister-in-law grabbed Xiaofeiyu and turned to leave. Feiyu, where are you going? You haven't toasted the elders yet. My mother-in-law stamped her feet in frustration, but Kong Yan just waved her hand dramatically without looking back. The eldest patriarch of the Kong family slammed his cup down. How is this girl not like a member of the Kong family? Her manners and decency have been fed to the dogs. My mother-in-law's face flushed red. Xiao Nan earnestly added, maybe it's because Auntie isn't from the Kong family, she's from the Sad Love Song clan. How did this mischievous kid get so good at summing things up? Watching Kong Yan chatting happily with her friends, all holding selfie sticks and talking about family, even my mother-in-law fell unusually silent. She looked at her mischievous, beloved grandson, then at her smirking son and me, who clearly wanted to be left alone. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. After all, she had seen over the past 2 years that my husband and I were resolute in not getting involved in my sister-in-law's affairs. A daughter and a son, both were dear. She was content just to maintain a surface-level relationship. Kong Yan's life looks splendid and glamorous on the surface, but it's really like a candle burning at both ends, I concluded, shaking my head at my husband who had just come back from working late. I haven't had time to keep an eye on her lately. What new stunt has she pulled? I opened the latest video on Kong Yan's social media account. Look, your sister is quite a character. She gained over 100,000 followers from the wedding live stream yesterday, and suddenly gained another 500,000 today. As I spoke, Kong Yan's tearful, angry voice came from the phone. I absolutely cannot forgive the act of substituting inferior ingredients for my premium ones. This is not the standard or professionalism expected of a 5-star hotel. It was a major failure of my wedding and has caused me a lifetime of regret. If the hotel does not issue a public apology and compensation on multiple platforms, I will use the weapon of the law to protect myself. My husband frowned and couldn't help but swear. Damn it. Is Kong Yan sick? she'll say anything for views, show. I heard footsteps outside and motioned for Kang Jiayang to be quiet. Yan, how have you become like this? The wedding banquet food was handled by Mom and me personally. There was no substitution of fish maw for gelatin, or ordinary grouper for long-nose grouper, like you claimed in the video. The head chef is a top-level chef. If he weren't a friend's relative, he wouldn't have personally cooked. How can I face my friends after? You've twisted the truth like this. CFAU's voice was filled with confusion and anger. Kang Yan kicked off her high heels, unconcerned. Haven't you heard that great people don't sweat the small stuff? Yesterday's wedding live stream was a great idea. If the stream hadn't been shut down, I definitely would have gained more than just 100,000 followers. I was planning to aim for 1 million in one go. You still shouldn't slander the hotel. Don't worry, I'll use this topic to get attention for a couple of days, then clarify things for the hotel. I'll film a reconciliation script with them. This series of twists and turns will definitely make me a huge internet sensation. Once I've made money, you can buy lots of gifts for your friend and his relative. They'll be more than happy. CFAU still didn't agree, but he didn't know how to argue. Kang Yan's phone rang suddenly. She answered casually, then her expression changed drastically. Without even changing her shoes, she dragged CFAU out. My husband and I looked at each other in bewilderment. What's going on now? Did they come back just to put on that show for us? My husband said dryly. Hard to say, they probably won't calm down anytime soon. If Kang Yan's short drama were called from 3D to 2D, we'd probably be the only ones who fully understood it besides the participants. I nodded and joked, maybe we should cut ties with them and expose her online. I mean, the food the head chef made was delicious. And the ingredients were fresh. It's not like everyone who came to the wedding is ignorant. Kang Yan's being foolish with this stunt. It'll easily be exposed. I paused, then stopped scrolling through my phone and turned curiously. Hey, what do you think made them leave in such a hurry? Could something have happened? Who knows what happens in the world of social media influencers? There's a call coming in. Hello, Mom. I did a double take. Wasn't the old lady sleeping in the bedroom with the kids? Why was she calling? My husband hung up and went to knock on his mother's bedroom door. Her voice came from inside. Go talk to your sister at her studio. I've already laid down. My husband came back to the bedroom without a word and put both our phones on airplane mode. Wife, go to sleep. I was dying of curiosity all night. When I got up the next morning, my mother-in-law was sitting on the sofa with a dark face. Beside her was a silent Xiafei and a red-eyed Kang Yan. My husband was leisurely checking our son's school bag, looking like he was about to walk out the door. Kang Yan finally spoke, her voice raspy. Brother, you have to help me figure this out. The hotel is suing me for extortion. I don't want to go to jail. After I dropped Xiaonan off at school, I practically ran home. I had specifically traded shifts with another teacher just so I could be front and center for the gossip. Before I even got inside, I could hear my mother-in-law and Kang Yan crying and complaining in unison. Zhiyang, do you remember when Yan Yan was just born? You held her little hand and said she was beautiful and you would protect her forever. But these past 2 years, under your wife's influence, you've grown further and further apart from your sister. It breaks my heart to see. I paused for a moment. So gossiping was just my mother-in-law's protective coloring. Her trying to drive a wedge between my husband and me behind my back felt genuinely absurd, to be honest. Before I married Kang Jiang, I had heard he had a sister who wasn't a good student and was rebellious. I also knew she loved watching short videos where her values were dictated by looks. And she was proud of her more mature appearance and her not-so-secret relationship, but I felt sorry for Kang Yan, who had lost her father as a child, and because she was cute, I had genuinely worried about her a lot. Her college entrance exam scores were average, and she was picky if I hadn't pushed her to. At our school at the last minute, her application might have failed. I, along with my husband, had carefully chosen her major, one that would make it easy to find a job after graduation and also had good prospects for further study, to get her enrolled. My husband and I had swallowed our pride and paid a large sum for her to be admitted through the supplementary process. When she was diagnosed as pregnant during her physical exam, as a teacher at the school and her sister-in-law, I did bear a lot of pressure. In the past life, she had the abortion and continued her studies. I was constantly mocked by my rival for Kang Yan's jaw-dropping speech at the beginning of the semester. Yep, she had given that speech, which was comparable to a health supplement sales pitch, in the past life. Later, during her 3 years of junior college, the school upgraded to a university, and she pursued postgraduate studies. For the several years she was at the school, my rival kept dragging her up to beat me over the head at the time, even when I argued that she was a Kong, not a Meng. And what did she have to do with me? No one listened. Just thinking about it made me angry. This ungrateful, treacherous wolf who turned on her brother and sister-in-law. Sure enough, she started bad-mouthing me again behind my back. Brother, you're the head of the Kong family. You can't let your wife push you around. We're siblings. I'm in trouble now. I just need a loan to tide me over, and I'll quickly get back on my feet. If you don't believe me, ask Feiyu. Didn't the hotel say they would drop the lawsuit if I publicly apologize and pay 10 times the compensation? Kong Yan had thought it through. First, smear the hotel to generate buzz. Even if she was exposed, she could claim as the bride. Why would I ruin my wedding just for attention? As an excuse, the worst case was she'd get cursed at online, but negative attention was still attention. But she hadn't expected the reaction to be so big. Because Kong Yan's online image had been relatively positive, most people sided with her. She got the attention, but it also damaged the hotel's reputation. Some irrational fans and netizens boycotted the hotel, causing the stock price of its parent company to drop significantly. The hotel had to take action. They formed a special investigative team and a legal team. The hotel's purchasing records were complete, there were kitchen cameras, and the facts were very clear. Moreover, many guests at the wedding were also self-media creators and had recorded the dishes clearly. Some, trying to ride the wave of the controversy, even recalled the details of each table's dishes and flavors. Kong Yan's nails were digging into Feiyu's arm, but he seemed not to feel it. He said expressionlessly, 10 times the cost of the wedding banquet. Compared to the drop in stock price, it's just a drop in the bucket. Did you hear that, brother? The wedding cost 900,000. If I just pay them 9 million, I won't have to go to jail. This is the best possible outcome. I had already quietly unlocked the door with my key and was secretly observing. I squinted at my husband's expression and saw him put out his cigarette and smile disdainfully. This seemed to be the first time since my rebirth that he had looked at Kong Yan head-on and spoken. Kong Yan, you truly don't know the value of things until you run a household. Just 9 million. Do you think 9 million is like cabbages at the market? You're so rich, why don't you just pay it yourself? Kong Yan bit her lower lip, indignant. She opened her mouth to say something, but my husband stopped her with a gesture. You always say my wife's monthly salary isn't even as much as your one Japanese meal. You used to make fun of us for not spending tens of thousands on an international class for Xiao Nan in kindergarten, and you're always cursing my little company to bankruptcy. When you were showing off, you acted superior. Now why aren't you so high and mighty? Why come to a hick like me for a loan? Kong Yan's face was red with embarrassment. After all, she had indeed said and done those things, unable to stand seeing her precious late-in-life daughter being scolded. My mother-in-law slapped my husband's back hard to stop him from continuing. You siblings should support each other. You only have Xiao Nan as your son. Won't you need Kwai Kwai and Lu Li's help in the future? If you help your sister now, they'll be grateful when they grow up. Besides, your sister has 2 children to raise. She spends a lot of money. That's why she came to you, her own brother, for a loan. You just... My husband raised his hand again to stop her from speaking. I imagined he was saying, yellow card warning. I don't expect Kwai Kwai and Lulu to help Xiao Nan. Each child has their own fortune. Besides, it would be good if they aren't dragged down by their own mother. As for her spending so freely, Mom, why didn't you try to talk her out of it? Anyway, I don't want to say more. You know our financial situation. For your sake, Mom, if she's short by 10 or 20,000, I'll help her out. Your daughter-in-law is generous. She'll definitely agree not to ask for it back. Consider it a token of our filial piety to you. I rolled my eyes inwardly but didn't jump out to argue. I hadn't expected my husband to be so articulate. I felt a little admiration unexpectedly. Kong Yan took offense first. Brother, are you joking? I'm not asking you to pay all 9 million. I can sell my car, my bags, and use my savings to scrape together 5 or 6 million. You just need to pay the remaining 3 or 4 million. My husband laughed in disbelief. You make it sound so easy. Did I just find my money on the street? I don't agree. I suggest you use the time you have to ask your influencer friends for money. Whatever they happen to have left over from their own spending would be enough for you. If I could borrow it, would I be here suffering your bad temper? What are you doing, Xiao? Nan's clear voice rang out. I thought to myself, nothing, just watching the show from the front lines. Nothing, I just dropped you off. Why are you back? Xiao Nan looked at me with a deadpan expression. Mom, you're holding my backpack. I looked down. No wonder my hand was so sore. Honey, come take the kid to school, and remember to explain things to his teacher. In the end, my sister-in-law didn't get a loan from us. She even proudly refused the 10 or 20,000 my husband offered. If she had had cash on hand, she probably would have thrown it in our faces. She paid the compensation, apologized, and still lost a large number of followers. She spent her days sighing and leaving early and coming back late. My mother-in-law started giving my husband and me dirty looks and slamming chopsticks and bowls at the table, making snide remarks. To preserve my own sanity, my husband and I decided to move out. At dinner, my husband took a bite of stir-fried garlic scapes and spat them out. Mom, did you knock over the salt shaker? Didn't I hire an hourly cook? Why did you send her away? Isn't taking care of Kwai Kwai and Lulu enough to keep you busy? My mother-in-law snatched the chopsticks from his hand. Eat it or don't. The money for a cook would be better off lent to your sister. I sent Xiao Nan out to get a hamburger and decided to have a proper talk with my mother-in-law. Mom, now Kong Yan's family of 4, plus the 4 of us, makes 8 people living in this 4-bedroom, 2 living room apartment. The kids are getting older. It's inconvenient a lot of the time. So my husband and I have discussed it and decided to move out. If you want to come with us, you're welcome. What? I don't agree. While your parents are alive, the family shouldn't split. Have you thrown all your education to the dogs? Do you want to abandon me that badly? I worked so hard to raise Xiao Nan for you, and now I'm run off my feet every day with Kwai Kwai and Lulu. Not only do you not help, but you want to move out and enjoy a comfortable life alone. Aren't you afraid I'll send this to the family group chat and let all the relatives see how unfilial you are? My husband smiled helplessly. Why don't you just say you're going to open the ancestral hall and have me stand trial for disrespect? We just don't want to live with Kong Yan's family anymore. Isn't that normal? If you want to live with us, I'll hire a housekeeper to handle the chores. Xiao Nan is old enough now, you don't need to worry about him. You can go square dancing with the other seniors. Isn't that nice? My mother-in-law seemed to actually imagine that scene for a moment, but in the end, she refused. Your little sister is in debt up to her ears. If I don't help her, who will? Besides, I can't bear to part with Kwai Kwai and Lulu. I absolutely had to live separately from my sister-in-law's family. I had put up with it for 2 years mainly because the couple usually lived in their rented studio. Now, we heard they were canceling the lease and had been moving equipment back home over the past few days. They seemed to be turning the house into a studio. I thought my mother-in-law would keep arguing, but surprisingly, she agreed the next day, on the condition that my husband and I give up our inheritance rights to this house, which was worth around 6 or 7 million. We still agreed. We signed the renunciation letter in front of a lawyer that same day. My mother-in-law had wanted to transfer the house directly to Kong Yan, but I kindly suggested she make a will instead, transferring it after her death. I was rewarded with dirty looks from both mother-in-law and sister-in-law. I gave them each the business card of an eye clinic, which made them very angry. After that, I barely saw Kong Yan except during the holidays. My mother-in-law, however, occasionally visited to see her grandson. Being far apart made their relationship better. For a while, we were getting along much better. I heard she had mortgaged her house to borrow a few million to help Kong Yan. Before I could react, she interrupted me. Don't worry, I'm not senile yet. I had your sister write me an IOU. After all, even if I don't consider myself, I have to think about Kwai Kwai and Lulu. Their parents are unreliable. She saw me looking at her as if she were a rare creature. My mother-in-law sighed. I guess I spoiled Yen Yen too much. She became a mother so young and only sees the children as money-making tools, forcing those 2 little ones to be child models in the sweltering heat. They had to shoot 100 or 200 outfits a day, their little faces bright red. She won't listen to me. Whoever raises the child will feel the pain. I avoided her gaze. I didn't care if she was disappointed. The children's situation was indeed heartbreaking, but no one could replace their mother. If their own grandmother couldn't get through to her, there was even less chance for me, the disliked sister-in-law. After that, my mother-in-law didn't take the hint and visited much less often. The old lady sure holds a grudge. My husband didn't even pause his page turning. We give her living expenses on time every month. We never forget to give her a share of any good food or drink. We won't abandon her if she gets sick. We do our duty. As for emotional support, her precious daughter can provide that. She can't have it both ways, can she? I knew that my mother-in-law's request to give up the old house had made my husband feel cold, but I didn't bother to persuade him. I was quite petty myself. I hadn't forgotten that the two of them often tried to sow discord between us. Besides, if my husband's company hadn't improved over the past 2 years, earning enough to buy a new house, we might still be living under the same roof as Kong Yen last week. My mother-in-law had Xiao Nan go to the old house to get some salted duck eggs she had made. He came back saying the place was so stuffy he was never going back. That was when I learned that Kong Yan's studio had completely taken root in the house. People were coming and going all day, and the old neighbors were constantly complaining. My mother-in-law would apologize, and then a young person from Kong Yan's studio would go dump trash and spit at the neighbor's door. I was afraid that one day I would see my mother-in-law and Kong Yan on a mediation news show, for example. A headline like "Neighbor who spits everywhere and makes noise until midnight" turns out to be a popular influencer, or the real face of a glamorous influencer neighbor is actually like this. I have a feeling my old neighbors are going to blow up soon. Maybe Kong Yan can become famous for being infamous again. The next day, my husband looked at me with a complicated expression. "Wife, are you some kind of prophet?" I immediately put 2 and 2 together. "Did your sister appear on a mediation show?" "Not that, but she was taken away by the police for suspected child abuse. Someone uploaded it, so she's trending again." I immediately went on Weibo and saw that the topic about a hot mom influencer abusing her children was rising in popularity. The whistleblower was a former employee of Kong Yan's studio. The employee provided Kwai Kwai and Lu Li's schedules for the past month, as well as the tasks they were required to complete each day. The packed schedule made even my head spin. At first, Kong Yan tried to do damage control, trying to steer the conversation towards workplace conflict and the employee's personal vendetta. Then the employee released medical records showing that Kwai Kwai and Lulu had been taken to the hospital multiple times for skin allergies due to the materials of the clothes they were modeling, as well as videos of Kong Yan yelling at and yanking the children when they were too tired to cooperate. Now, the fans and netizens who had been following the children's growth online couldn't stay silent. The more impatient ones called the police due to the high number of reports. The police even posted a public notice on Weibo stating that they had summoned an individual named Kong for questioning. The impact was considerable. Many media outlets went to the old neighborhood to interview the surrounding residents to verify the online claims. The old neighbors, who had been driven crazy by Kong Yan's studio, had nothing good to say about her. They didn't even spare my mother-in-law's feelings. Fortunately, no one knew the address of my husband's and my new home. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any peace either. Kong Yan was released after 48 hours, only Sei Feiyu was there to pick her up, surrounded by cigarette butts, before Kong Yan could even express her fear and grievance. Sei Feiyu slapped her with divorce papers. When I heard about this, I nearly dropped my jaw in shock. After Kong Yan had the babies, apart from filming videos and photos for their social media accounts, the actual care of the children had mostly fallen to my mother-in-law and Sei Feiyu. Kong Yan just had to maintain the hot mom persona. I thought Sei Feiyu would spoil Kong Yan unconditionally forever. I didn't expect him to get tough when it came to the children, but thinking about it, it made sense. Sei Feiyu had grown up in an orphanage. He met Kong Yan at an age when he was starved for affection, so he had given her all his heart, but the children were his bottom line. I had heard from an old neighbor that they often heard Sei Feiyu and Kong Yan arguing about the children. Sei Feiyu thought children should just be happy. Earning money was the adult's job. Every time this topic came up, Kong Yan would only say, "Can't you be a little more forward-thinking? I'm helping Kwai Kwai and Lulu build up their popularity in another way. Having them be child models a lot. Their social media accounts will accumulate a lot of followers, which is a significant amount of wealth. It's better than leaving them a house or a car. This is a goose that lays golden eggs." Sei Feiyu was often left speechless. At first, I thought Kong Yan's words made a lot of sense given the current situation. It was Kong Zhiyang who woke me up. That's complete nonsense. People who start accounts for their children do it to watch them grow and gain recognition in the process. She's just exploiting the 2 children as tools. It's not some long-term plan she talks about. He was right. What parent who truly loved their children would make them work for over 10 hours a day, even forbidding them from eating snacks? Not because they were bad for their health, but because they might get too fat to be child models. because of the child abuse allegations. Despite her attempts to clarify, netizens were not buying it. Kang Yan's account was eventually banned by the platform. And the industry said they would no longer use Kwai Kwai and Lulu as child models. I couldn't help but sigh to my husband. Actually, it's for the best for Kwai Kwai and Lulu. It's ironic, though, the first time they went to an amusement park was just for Kang Yan to show off. I saw on her moments that CFAU wasn't in the photos. Did they really break up? To my surprise, my husband continued reading calmly, as if he didn't care at all. I stared at him expectantly. He sighed, took off his glasses, and said, "You can ask him yourself in a bit." He said he has something to talk about. He'll be here in about 10 minutes. Seriously, why didn't you say so? By the time the doorbell rang, I had already grabbed a flower pot, and I shoved a dumbbell into Kang Jiang's hand. What's the meaning of this? I'm afraid he's been so stressed he's snapped. He hasn't been here for a year, and now he suddenly wants to come. What if he's gone paranoid and wants to do that thing where they're like, "You hurt me, but I don't want to hurt you, so I'll kill your whole family. I'll whack him on the head first." That's self-defense, right? I muttered the last sentence quietly. It would also count as revenge from the past life. I've had my eye on CFAU's head for a long time. Then I marched bravely to the door, not noticing the pain and pity in my husband's eyes. The moment I opened the door, I saw CFAU in a suit. He knelt down abruptly on the doorstep. Holy crap. I stood there dumbfounded, holding the flower pot, and looked back at my husband, who was holding the dumbbell. Has he really gone crazy? Meng wide. I'm sorry. Wah, hey, honey, calm down. By the time I came to my senses, we were already in the surgical outpatient clinic. CFAU, your sister-in-law didn't mean it. She hates it when people call her by her full name. Watching CFAU, whose head was now wrapped in gauze, with my husband explaining on my behalf, I felt a complex mix of emotions. The revenge for my cracked skull had been settled in a bizarre way. I was sent off to ask the doctor about post-injury care. When I came back, I heard CFAU being all dramatic. I will divorce Kang Yan. I'll take the children and take good care of them. This is what I owe my sister-in-law. I ran back. What? CFAU, can't you talk normally? The way you say it makes it sound like you and I have something going on. CFAU's eyes were dark as ink, completely different from his usual slightly naive look. I tried to act calm, but my heart was pounding like a drum. Kang Jiang stood by, saying nothing. I tossed and turned all night. Even though I was quiet, I still woke my husband up. What's wrong, honey? Can't sleep. I stared at the dark ceiling and hesitated. Say, do you think CFAU's sudden personality change could be like in those novels where someone's body is taken over? Don't overthink it. Maybe he just grew up and matured. He says he's going to divorce her, and he probably means it this time. And I won't take sides with Kang Yan. CFAU genuinely cares about the children. I can see that. My husband stroked my hair, and I felt comforted. I couldn't help but wonder. I wonder if Kang Yan will regret her decision. My husband suddenly buried his face in my neck. What are you doing? Nothing. Just let me lean for a moment. I felt a dampness on my shoulder. Kang Jiang, why are you drooling on me? My husband, it's tears. Later, CFAU really did divorce Kang Yan. Because of the child abuse allegations, the court awarded custody to CFAU. Kang Yan cried her eyes out that day, but I wouldn't put it past her to be the worst. I suspected the reason she was so upset was because she had lost her 2 cash cows. Just like when celebrity scandals affect their endorsements and they have to pay penalties, Kang Yan used up all the money she had borrowed from my mother-in-law to pay her debts. My mother-in-law even got sick because of it. After she recovered, she made up her mind and took Kang Yan to court using the IOU. At the time, I didn't quite understand her decision, but when the results came out, and all of Kang Yan's assets were frozen and sold off, she had no capital left to scheme with. My mother-in-law sold the old house and paid off the remaining mortgage. She bought a place 2/3 smaller. My husband and I discussed it. She was, after all, Xiao Nan's grandmother. We asked if she would like to live with us and let us take care of her in her old age. She refused. She said she needed to watch over her daughter. Even though they had faced each other in court over money, she firmly believed it was for Kang Yan's own good. Kang Yan has no money now. I've paid off all her debts. She can find a more reliable man than CFAU and settle down. I was skeptical. After all, Kang Yan had grown accustomed to a life of luxury. How could she settle down and find a steady job? She still tried to do live streams, but every account she made was banned. Finally, despite her mother's protests, She went to another city and became a mistress. When I heard this news, my first reaction was that my old rival's favorite jab came to mind, your sister-in-law from the Kong family has brought you nothing but shame. Thankfully, in this life, Kong Yen didn't choose to stay at school. Since she wasn't around, no one mentioned her, and I finally achieved the senior teaching title, fulfilling my wish from my past life. To my surprise, Xiaofeiyu was eventually acknowledged by the Xie family. Unlike the past life where he received elite air training, in this life, his starting point was lower, and he had to spend most of his energy on the twins. He didn't try to expand aggressively like he did in the past life. Instead, he started from the bottom, which actually fulfilled my mother-in-law's hope for Kong Yen to live a steady life. I didn't have any strong feelings about it, but one day, I received a text and a bank transfer from Xiaofeiyu. He said, "Sister-in-law, I had a dream. I dreamed that in the past life, I believed Kong Yan's words and used my position and power to ruin your and my brother's jobs, and indirectly caused your death. I owe you a life." That night, I also had a dream. I dreamed that after I died, Kong Zhiyang had sent the thugs to prison. Although he tried to accuse Xiaofeiyu of hiring a murderer, the case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. He cut ties with Kong Yen and, apart from paying his mother's living allowance on time, never forgave her for mediating between them. I woke up with a start and looked at my phone. It was the same day I had gotten my head cracked open in the past life. I tiptoed into Xiao Nan's room and saw him, now almost a young man, sprawled out sleeping with a smile on his face. I breathed a sigh of relief. In the dream, after my sudden death, he had become gloomy and depressed. Now, everything was good. I got back into bed and was enveloped by a warm, solid embrace. Although we had never explicitly said it, my husband and I had both changed significantly from our past lives. It was an unspoken understanding between us, and we treasured our hard-won little family. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your feelings in the comments. Next, we will begin a new story. The twin brother was a macrosomic baby. My mother spent a whole day and night in labor. I was deprived of oxygen in the womb, and was born with cerebral palsy. My grandmother, cradling my fat, fair-skinned brother, looked at my scrawny self with disgust and said, "Unlucky, worthless girl. My precious grandson is smart for coming out first." Because I was a girl and had cerebral palsy, my parents wished I had died at birth. As soon as I turned 18, my father sold me to the village drunkard, who was in his 40s, as his second wife. Later, the drunkard beat me to death in a drunken rage. My parents weren't sad at all. Instead, they used the opportunity to extort money from him to get my brother a wife. When I regained consciousness, I found myself back in my mother's womb. I had always known I was different from other children. At 3, I couldn't speak clearly. The villagers laughed at my parents for having a fool. My sister's an idiot, she can't even talk. My brother hit my temple with a fire poker in front of his gaggle of friends. Good for nothing. My grandmother beat me with a broomstick. Look at your brother, he can already recite the 3-character classic. The bamboo stick landed on my chilblains, and pus and blood stained the cracked brick floor. At 5, my brother pushed me into the outhouse as sewage filled my nostrils. My mother was coming back from town with a birthday cake. "Come quick, son. Have some cake. Don't worry about her, it'd be a relief if she drowned." It wasn't until the neighbor, Aunt Wang, came to borrow salt that I was pulled out, covered in maggots. That day was also my birthday. At 10, while cooking, my trembling hands caused a stove explosion. Hot oil splashed all over my face. I convulsed in a pile of firewood as my father beat my back with a carrying pole. Useless thing. Do you know how expensive that oil was? My burned skin stuck to my clothes, tearing off with my flesh. On my 18th birthday, a freezing rain fell. The village drunkard's second-hand Santana splashed through the puddles in front of our house. Cerebral palsy makes them cheaper, but she can still bear children. My father licked his fingers as he counted the red bills, haggling with the drunkard, Zhang Quan. My mother stuffed a few hard buns into my bag. "When you get to the Zhengs, have a baby as soon as possible. It'll be worth the money they spent on you." My final memory is of a belt smelling of sorghum liquor, relentlessly beating me. "Stupid fool, how dare you glare at me when you can't even give me a child?" I lay limply on the edge of the brick bed, watching my blood flow into the cracks. "If you killed my daughter, you have to pay me compensation, otherwise, I'll report you to the police." When my father found out I was dead, he immediately came to get money from Zhang Quan. They rolled my body in a straw mat and dumped me in the mass grave behind the mountain. My Mother counted the cash and smiled. This money is just in time for Yao Yao's wedding house in the county. The moment it all vanished, I sank into a warm darkness. I curled in the warm amniotic fluid as murky liquid suddenly rushed into my nose. The memories of my past life flooded my nerves. The pain of the drunkard's belt still burned on my skin. Through the thin uterine wall, I heard my mother's agonized groans and my grandmother's sharp voice. Useless thing, after all those eggs I fed you. Push, don't let my grandson get stuck in there. Next door, the fetus had a strong heartbeat. His little feet kicked against my temple as he pushed outward. This time, I would go first with my smaller body. I agilely turned in the amniotic fluid and slid out of the birth canal ahead of him. Wah wah wah, I cried freely. In my past life, because Qinyao was so large, my mother used up all her strength giving birth to him. By the time it was my turn, she had nothing left. I was stuck too long and deprived of oxygen, leading to cerebral palsy. My parents found me shameful. My grandmother despised me for being a girl. I was slighted and hated my whole life. This time, without Qinyao blocking the way, I wasn't deprived of oxygen. I was born healthy. Why did we get a worthless girl? I heard my grandmother scold angrily. The other one isn't a girl too, is it? What sin did our Chen family commit to get such a useless daughter-in-law? No, the doctor said there was definitely a boy in Hongsheng's belly. My father barely glanced at me before tossing me aside. From the delivery room came my mother's pained moans. The midwife's voice came and went. The second baby's head is too big, it's stuck, fetal heart rate is dropping. My father and grandmother grew anxious. My father suggested, "Doctor, why not just do a C-section?" "No, everyone says C-sections are bad for the baby." My grandmother argued, "Doctor, you have to save my grandson. If his head is too big, just cut her down. They're a bit, us country women aren't so delicate when giving birth." My father's lips moved, but he said nothing. I fell asleep. When I woke up, the nurse was carrying out a bundle. "Where's Zhou Hongsheng's family? The second one's a boy." My grandmother was thrilled. She was the first to grab the bundle. When she saw the blue, misshapen baby boy, her muddy eyes widened. "What's this? Why isn't my precious grandson crying? He was stuck too long. He was deprived of oxygen. There might be lasting effects, but it's good you got him back alive." The nurse left. "As long as he's alive, as long as he's alive, I have a grandson." My grandmother smiled. My father was a bit worried, but his love for his son won out. When 6-year-old Qinyao drooled on the threshold, I squatted by the chicken coop collecting eggs. Heavens, 6 years old and he still can't say grandma. My grandmother complained even as her rough hand gently stroked Qinyao's head, as if to prove her wrong. Qinyao mumbled indistinctly, "Grandma." His face twitched uncontrollably. "Son." My mother ran out of the kitchen and hugged him, her hands greasy with pig fat. "Dr. Zhang in town said it's just a speech delay." I corrected her. "Wang Taizhu from next door says he's an idiot." "I'm not an idiot, you're the worthless girl." Qinyao squirmed in my mother's arms, trying to hit me. My grandmother glared at me and hit me with the bottom of her shoe. "It's all your fault, you little wretch. If you hadn't gotten in his way, would he be like this?" My father kicked me too. "Worthless girl, what are you babbling about? Go make your brother's medicine, if you talk nonsense again." My mother suddenly twisted my ear. "The medicine is almost burnt." I liked seeing them get so flustered and helpless when they heard Qinyao was slow, even though it meant I'd get beaten for it. In my past life, when they found out I had cerebral palsy, they treated me like livestock. They threw me in the hut next to the outhouse and ignored me. I only got their leftovers. Now, our roles were reversed. Even though I could help with many chores, I was still the unwanted one. Qinyao smugly raised his head. "I'm hungry." My mother let go of me and ran inside with a bowl of sweetened eggs, instead of impatient curses. There was gentle soothing. "Yao Yao, be good, Mama will feed you the egg custard." One noon, as I was shelling beans in the yard, Qinyao sat on the doorstep chewing malt candy, his mouth crooked. 3 neighbor boys kicked stones as they passed. The leader, Wang Taizhu, pointed at Qinyao and laughed. "Look, the idiot is drooling while he eats. Go away." Qinyao swung his candy, trying to hit them, but tripped over his own feet and fell flat on his face. Taizhu mimicked his lopsided walk. "Think you can bite, you crippled toad?" The other kids laughed and threw clods of dirt at Qinyao. I kept shelling beans from my crouch by the wall, watching the muddy snot smear on Qinyao's face. Then I said, "Oh dear, Yao Yao, they're calling you a toad. That means they think you're really ugly. You're the toad." Qinyao stammered. He was shaking with anger. Suddenly, he lunged at Taizhu and bit his arm. Taizhu yelped in pain, shook him off, and kicked him in the stomach. The idiot bites. I fanned the flames. Yao Yao, you're 6 and you can't even beat a 5-year-old. That made Taiju even more eager. He grabbed Qin Yao by the collar and punched him in the face. You think hiding behind your sister makes you tough? Liar. Qin Yao screamed like a stuck pig. His cries brought my grandmother running with her rolling pin. Which goddamn lowlife is beating my grandson? The kids scattered. Taiju yelled as he ran. Qin Yao is an idiot pulled out of the outhouse. Qin Yao rolled on the ground, crying. His candy stuck in his hair along with his blood. My grandmother's rolling pin immediately turned on me. Jinx, you saw your brother getting beaten. Yao Yao was the one who lunged at them. I blinked. Innocently, I can't fight that many by myself. Bullshit, my grandson is the best behaved. It's all your fault. My father hit me on the back with a bamboo stick. We'll sell you off tomorrow. The next morning, Qin Yao's face bruised. My grandmother dragged him toward Tieju's house. My mother stuffed half a piece of peach cake into his hand. Cry hard when you get there. Mama will get justice for you. Tieju's mother was airing quilts. Qin Yao suddenly lunged and bit her trouser leg. Tieju's father picked Qin Yao up like a chick. You little monster, you bite people. Who are you calling a monster? My grandmother sat on the ground and slapped her thigh. My grandson is precious. Can you afford to fix him if you break something? My mother stepped forward with Qin Yao in her arms. Look how scared he is. He can't even talk. 10 pounds of eggs and 5 of brown sugar. Or we're going to the police. Tieju's mother laughed. That kid of yours wasn't scared by me. He couldn't talk anyway. You're lying. I can talk. Qin Yao's eyes were bloodshot. Although he was still young, he could already tell he was different from other kids. The other children didn't want to play with him. He hated being looked at differently, being described in harsh words. I watched coldly. Was I sad? But what I had endured in my past life was far worse. Taiju came out. Qin Yao bit me first. He showed the scab teeth marks. The idiot deserved to be hit. Little bastard, you're full of shit. My father raised his shoe to hit him, but Tieju's father grabbed his wrist. This is our house. What are you trying to do? Qin Yao suddenly convulsed. My grandmother immediately tore open his collar and started wailing. If anything happens to my only grandson of the Qin family, I'll hang myself at your door. The onlookers snickered. Aunt Lu, who sold tofu, pursed her lips. Last month, Qin Yao pushed a rock from their outhouse into our vegetable cellar and smashed 3 jars of pickled vegetables. I never got paid for that. That's right. What about Qin Yao peeing in our well? The butcher spat. You go around extorting people just because your kid is sick. Tieju's mother put her hands on her hips and sneered. You want compensation? Fine. Pay us back for the haystack your Qin Yao burned last year. My grandson burning your haystack was an honor. My grandmother's spit flew. You jealous hicks deserve to live in a thatched hut. Say that again, you old hag. Tieju's father picked up a shovel. Qin Yao wet his pants in fear. My mother frantically tugged my grandmother's sleeve. How about 20 eggs? Get out. Tieju's mother threw a basin of slops at them, raising a little lunatic. And you have the nerve to extort us. That night, I was forced to kneel on broken tiles. Qin Yao ate a chicken leg and spit bones at me. My grandmother rubbed his stomach and cursed me. You jinx caused my grandson to suffer. We'll sell you off to get him a wife. My father counted the grain money and agreed. Old Lu from the next village wants to buy a child bride. I watched the sparks jump in the stove and remembered the rainy night when I was wrapped in a straw mat. Suddenly, Qin Yao gave a strange, raspy laugh. He grabbed my pigtail and banged my head against the edge of the brick bed. Is it fun, Yao Yao? My grandmother handed him a bamboo stick. Use this. It won't hurt your hands as much. As the bamboo stick came down, I deliberately fell toward Qin Yao. His head hit the corner of the table on the brick bed, and he let out an ear-piercing scream. Before my grandmother's slap could land, I screamed, Wang Taiju is here to beat Yao Yao again. Those bastards dare to come here. My grandmother grabbed a carrying pole and ran out. I took the opportunity to throw Qin Yao's favorite cloth tiger into the stove. When the smell of burning cloth filled the air, Qin Yao ran at me, teeth bared. I had grown strong from all the labor. I grabbed him by the hair and pushed his face toward the stove. Aren't you going to try anymore? I said, satisfied, overwhelmed by my strength. Qin Yao trembled. I'm sorry, sister, I won't do it again. The next day, the whole village was talking. They said the Chens doted on a useless idiot and ignored their good daughter. When I was washing clothes by the river, I heard Tieju's mother say loudly, like mother, like daughter, idiots produce idiots, and they're all crazy. I watched the soap bubbles ripple in the water and smiled softly when the cicadas' chirping signaled the end of summer. I squatted at our gate listening to Wang Taizhu show off his new backpack. When school starts, I get to sit in a classroom just like the city kids. He rattled his new textbooks. The teacher says idiots can't go to school. Qinyao darted out, drool dripping on Taizhu's shoes. I'm going to school too. I want to read books. In that state, Taizhu slapped the textbook on his face. Go on and read. At the very beginning of life, Qinyao tore at the pages in frustration. Taizhu yelped and pushed him to the ground. When Taizhu's mother came out, my grandmother lifted her bucket of pig slop and spat. What's so great about it? If my Yao Yao went to school, he'd do way better than your little brat. Taizhu's mother rolled her eyes. It's just your family that thinks Qinyao is so precious. School wouldn't take him anyway. He'd ruin the school's image. My grandmother was furious. She went back inside to discuss Qinyao's schooling with my father. School, he can't even hold chopsticks steady. My father tapped his pipe on the table. My mother was feeding Qinyao. The city doctor said learning to read might help his condition. I'm not sick, Qinyao insisted. You stupid woman, what are you saying? My grandmother scolded. My grandson is smart. Where is he sick? I held my broom and said softly, this morning. Taizhu said Yao Yao was a fool born from our ancestral graves smoking black smoke. That little bastard is tired of living. My father stood up. If Yao gets into college, I swept the broken pottery, not just the Taizis, even the village chief will be offering you cigarettes. I lowered my voice. You see why the Taizis are so bossy. It's because his uncle is a clerk in the town government. My grandmother's muddy eyes darted back and forth. I'm not going. Qinyao knocked over his soup bowl. They laugh at me. My father and mother were silent. Because of Qinyao, they had been the subject of gossip for years. They desperately wanted a chance to hold their heads high. Qinyao getting into college was that chance. I picked up the broken pieces and smiled. Taizhu said you can't tell the boys' bathroom from the girls'. Bullshit. Actually, reading is really easy. I traced the character for male in the ashes. See, this means male. Yao Yao is a real man. Qinyao's crooked mouth tightened. He began tracing the character with his ash-covered fingers. I want to go to school. My mother suddenly grabbed my arm. Don't teach him wrong. You can't even read yourself. Mom, I do know how. I pointed to a yellowed certificate on the wall. When Yao Yao gets 100, it'll make Wang Taizhu cry, won't it? My father suddenly kicked over a stool. Let's go sign him up tomorrow. 20 yuan tuition, highway robbery. My grandmother's shriek scared the chickens. The principal pushed up his glasses. Qinyao requires special care. He'll need to be in the special education class. My grandson is smart. My grandmother pushed him forward. Show the teacher. Recite a poem. Qinyao stared at the principal's shiny belt buckle. He couldn't say a word. You call that smart? The principal's patience wore thin. I'm not sure he'll even be accepted into that class. I clenched my fists. Living again, I knew that a healthy body wasn't enough. Only education could free me from my family. I had to go to school, but with my parents' personalities, they would never spend money on my education. Teacher, let me accompany my brother to school. I can take care of him. I won't be any trouble. The principal looked at my patched clothes. You want to study too? What good is a girl studying? My father grabbed my braid. I tightened my hands. Dad, haven't you heard? The Li family's daughter from the next village got top marks in the county exam. The county government came with drums and gongs to present a plaque. My father thought for a moment. Can we pay for one student and get two taught? Ridiculous. The principal was about to leave when I fell to my knees on the hot gravel. I knew this was my only chance to change my fate. I had to seize it. I promise I'll come early every day to clean the classroom. I'll get first place in every exam. My worn knees soaked blood into my pants. Please let my brother come to school. He's truly a reincarnated literary star. Qinyao suddenly shouted. School, special cases can have tuition waived. The principal sighed. He opened a register, but Qinyao must pass an entrance exam. My mother cried with joy. Say thank you to the principal. Yao Yao is going to be valedictorian. On the way home, Qinyao was on my back, giggling. I'm going to be a big official. Buy candy. I walked, feeling the sticky drool on my neck, remembering a rainy night in my past life when he had deliberately peed on my neck, saying a fool deserved to be ridden like a donkey. Sister, Qinyao suddenly pulled my hair. What if I fail? Remember Wang Tiezhu's glass marbles? I shifted him on my back. If you do well, your sister will win them all for you. He waved his arms on my back. Win them all, make him cry. The first day of school, Qinyao sat in the back, hugging the new backpack our mother had bought him. Fool Qin really showed up. Tiezhu's taunts made the whole class laugh. Qinyao's face flushed. He threw his metal pencil box at him. "You're the fool," but the ink inside splashed all over the back of the girl in front. The classroom erupted. The girl in the floral dress started crying. Her brother, Zhao Hu, rushed over with a stool, looking for trouble. "Idiot." I grabbed a broom and ran into the fray. "Zhao Hu, stop." My brother didn't mean it, but my finger accidentally knocked over an ink bottle. A stream of ink ran down Zhao Hu's pants. No one in the Qin family is any good. Zhao Hu swung his stool. I hurriedly used my body to protect Qin Yao. My elbow just happening to hit his stomach, he stumbled and fell into the trash can, splashing dirty water all over the homeroom teacher as he came running. "Everyone, go stand in the hall," the teacher roared, wiping his face with his glasses. "It's all your fault." Qin Yao kicked the wall, his wet pants leaving marks on the floor. "When we get home, I'm telling Mom and Dad and Grandma to beat you to death. I was protecting you." "But Yao Yao, don't you want to get back at him?" I changed the subject. "Of course I do." Qin Yao's eyes blazed. "I want to make Zhao Hu look bad." I lowered my voice. "Zhao Hu is most afraid of his dad, but he skipped school yesterday." Sure enough, during morning reading the next day, Qin Yao pointed out the window and shouted, "Uncle Zhao." Zhao Hu skipped school. Uncle Zhao, carrying his hoe, heard. He came back and dragged Zhao Hu out by his ear. I smiled through the window, remembering how Qin Yao had told our parents I had stolen steamed buns, leading to me being hung from a beam and whipped. "Qin Yao, you idiot, you snitched." During recess, Zhao Hu cornered Qin Yao in the outhouse. I hid behind the wall, listening to the thuds of fists on flesh. Not until Qin Yao was crying and begging for mercy did I run in fear to tell the teacher. "Teacher, Zhao Hu is trying to throw my brother in the outhouse. Qin Yao's parents must come to school tomorrow." The principal slammed down a punishment notice. My mother fawned apologetically. "My Yao Yao is very well behaved. It must have been Zhao Hu. Zhao Hu is already transferred." The principal laughed coldly. "Did Zhao Hu also put a dead mouse in a girl's pencil box and tear up his textbooks to use as toilet paper?" My father raised his hand to hit me. "You wretched girl, how do you watch your brother?" "Dad." I showed the bruises on my arm. Yao Yao said if I told on him, he'd shove me in the stove. "You deserve to be burned." Qin Yao suddenly jumped up and pulled my hair. The principal gasped. "This student must be expelled." "No." My mother fell to her knees. "My son is a reincarnated literary star." "A literary star?" The homeroom teacher threw down his all-zero test papers. "He can't even write his own name." In the end, Qin Yao was put on probation. That evening, Qin Yao tore his textbooks to shreds. My grandmother tried to tape them back together, cursing. "It's all because of that jinx." In the kitchen, I stirred the boiling pig slop, the steam stinging my eyes. It was more than a decade later. My grandmother had passed away. Life at home was a little better. "Yao Yao, eat slowly. The chicken legs are all yours." My mother pushed the entire plate of braised pork toward Qin Yao. Qin Yao tore at the chicken skin with his crooked mouth, his own glistening under the light. In his first year of middle school, he set the classroom on fire playing with fire. The principal cursed our village for 3 days. Under pressure, my father emptied our savings and borrowed money to pay for the damages that kept Qin Yao out of jail. But he was expelled. Qin Yao stayed home, doing nothing but stirring up trouble. My father took a sip of his liquor and suddenly spoke. "Chunny will be 18 after the new year. The Liu family from the West End is willing to pay 80,000. I paused, ladle in hand, some of the porridge spilling on the old table. After Qin Yao was expelled, the principal had seen my good grades and obedient nature and convinced my parents to let me stay in school. Later, I got into the county's top key high school with the highest score in the district. Lu Ji is 35. I gripped the chipped bowl. "He just killed his third wife last month." Qin Yao threw a chicken bone at me. "Worthless girl, someone wants you, and you're picky." My mother wiped his mouth with a handkerchief. "It's time your sister got married anyway." The gossip in the village. "When we get the bride price, Mom will find you Lin Xiaomei." At the name, Qin Yao's cloudy eyes lit up. Lin Xiaomei was the village party secretary's daughter. She had just graduated from a teaching college and was as pale and pure as a gardenia blooming in the snow. "Lin Xiaomei stuffed a letter in my basket yesterday," I said, pulling a roasted sweet potato from the stove. "She said if you throw any more dead mice in her yard, she'll go to the police and report you for harassment." "Liar." Qin Yao kicked over a stool, spit flying onto the leftover chicken bones. "She smiled at me." My father slammed his bottle on the table. "That Lin girl's been wearing short skirts by the village entrance lately." "What's That if not seducing men, exactly. My mother suddenly grew excited. Last market day, she asked what you like to eat. Isn't that meaningful? I watched Xinyou's face twitch with excitement, remembering the day before last when I saw Lin Xiaomei chasing him with a shovel for trying to peek in her bathroom. The next morning, I was woken by banging on the door. Lin Xiaomei's father and her cousin were blocking our gate. Xinyou was tied with rope and sitting on the dewy ground. Look what your idiot did, Lin Xiaomei's father cursed at my mother, peeking in my daughter's bathroom window last night. Xinyou grinned his gap-toothed smile, white, soft buns. It's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding. My father turned and grabbed a broom to hit me. You wretched girl, did you put him up to it? I staggered away. How is it my fault? Yao Yao said last night he was going to pick stars for Xiaomei. You hear that? My Yao Yao is cultured. My mother seized the opportunity. The two young people have feelings for each other. Why don't we discuss the bride price? The cousin kicked her away. My sister is a teacher. Could she be interested in something like him? Pay 5,000 for emotional damages, or we're going to the police station. 5,000. My father picked up a shovel. I should be charging you for your daughter seducing my son. Seducing. Lin Xiaomei's clear voice came from behind the crowd. She held up her phone. Qinyou's twisted face was pressed against her bathroom window. Police Chief Wang said this qualifies for 3 years. My mother collapsed to the ground. You can't take my Yao Yao. He can't even tell the men's room from the women's. He can't. Lin Xiaomei laughed. I heard at the market last month. He groped widowly at the supply and marketing cooperative. There's a record at the police station. I held back a smile. Settle privately. We'll settle privately. My father suddenly grabbed me and shoved me toward them. Let my son go. This girl is yours to do with as you please. Lin Xiaomei's cousin, Lin Jianjun, scoffed. He nudged Qinyou's crotch with his toe. An animal like this who can't control his pants deserves to be neutered and thrown in jail. Please. My mother shielded Qinyou. Xiaomei's dad, our families are distantly related. What if our Chunny married into your family? Marry who? Me, a widower. Lin Jianjun suddenly grabbed my father's collar. Does your daughter have gold-plated parts? We haven't even settled the account for Qinyou burning our pigsty. Lin Xiaomei held up her phone. 2 choices. Pay the 5,000 now, or I dial 110. My father's forehead veins bulged. He suddenly slapped me across the face. Kneel down and beg them. I stumbled, accidentally stepping on Qinyou's fingers. His pig-like scream drew the neighbors' heads. The cousins stepped back in disgust. Pay it now. Lin Xiaomei's father watched the growing crowd. Any more stalling and we'll add interest. We really don't have that much. Give me your house deed. Lin Xiaomei spoke suddenly. I heard you also have a general store in town. My mother collapsed. That's for Yao Yao's wedding. 3 minutes. Lin Xiaomei started the timer on her phone. Chief Wang said attempted rape is 3 years. Fine. The deed is inside. My father pushed my crying mother aside and pulled out the red booklet, his hands shaking. This settles it, Dad. Qinyou suddenly jumped up. That store has my AD calcium milk. Shut up. My father backhanded him. 'Cause any more trouble, I'll break your legs myself. Cicadas screamed in the locust tree. My mother was hiding pickled vegetables in the cellar. The Lin family really took the store. I asked, Jinx, you have the nerve to bring that up. My mother raised a rolling pin. The gate suddenly shook with pounding. The gate burst open. 5 burly men blocked the doorway. The leader, a scar-faced man, shook an IOU. Chen Daiju, with interest. You owe us 83,000, must be repaid today. I only borrowed 50,000. My father's face went white. Scarface kicked over the drying rack. Compound interest, ever heard of it? He looked at me. If you can't pay, use your daughter. No, my mother suddenly screamed. She has to get married so we can have money for our son's wedding. 120,000. Scarface grabbed my braid. Come with me tonight. I struggled. Dad, help me. 150,000. My father puffed out his chest. My daughter is a top student at the county's best high school. Not a cent less. Deal. Scarface threw down a contract. Sign it. My heart sank. Reborn. I had a healthy body. I worked hard for the family, studied diligently to bring them honor, hoping they might feel some shred of affection, but I was wrong. A physical disability wasn't the original sin. Being a girl was. They didn't care if I lived or died. I had to save myself. As I was about to sign, I pretended to be nervous and kicked over the kerosene lamp in the cellar. Flames caught on the drying corn, shooting up to the ceiling beams. Then, as Scarface dodged the flames, I used all my strength to yank free and run. You caused this. My mother wiped her tears, looking at the chart house. My defiance had angered Scarface, and the deal fell through. Now we have no bride price to speak of, and the mice won't even come to our home. My father threw his pipe at me. We owe over 100,000. What do we do now? What do I do? Why are you asking me? Chinyao sat crookedly on the bed, gnawing his nails. Sell the worthless girl. Sell her. My mother kept crying. The fortune teller said your fate is cursed. It made your brother this way. Now you've done this to the house. Her words reminded me of my miserable past life. Suddenly, I had an idea. Mom, you're only 38. You can still have another baby. Cough, cough. What? Think about it. Yao Yao needs someone to feed him. I'll have to get married. Eventually, when you and Dad are old, who will take care of you? Who will clean up the mess when Yao Yao causes trouble? I lowered my voice. Better to have another healthy son while you can. My father's pipe stopped in midair. My mother's eyes sparkled. But the family planning policy, just say Yao Yao is disabled. The rules allow a second child. I glanced at the drooling Chinyao. It shouldn't be hard to get a certificate. For years, my parents had thought about it. They loved Chinyao. But they also understood that they were the butt of jokes in the village because of his condition, and he was always causing trouble, costing them money. They had thought about it, but she had never gotten pregnant again. I haven't gotten pregnant since having you too, my mother whispered, avoiding Chinyao. I said, medicine is so advanced now, there must be a way. My mother and father looked at each other. Then my father said, we'll go to the clinic tomorrow. That night, my mother knelt before my grandmother's portrait. Mother, please bless me with another healthy son for the Chin family. At the hospital, my mother's hands shook as she held the test results. Severe fallopian tube adhesions. Natural pregnancy is impossible. The doctor pushed up his glasses. Consider IVF. The nurse flipped through her file. You're a bit older. You should reconsider. Do it. My mother suddenly slammed the table. I'll do whatever it takes to have a healthy son. I added, Mom, I heard that Aunt Zhang gave birth to twins at 42. Right, right. Old Li's daughter-in-law in the West Village did IVF. My mother's eyes lit up. She had a big, fat, 8-pound boy. These are ovulation induction shots. Give them every day on time. The nurse handed my mother an ice pack. Come back next week for egg retrieval. My mother's hands trembled as she lifted her shirt. Chunny, the shot. It doesn't hurt, Mom. I held her waist, covered in bulging fat. Think about your future. Son, you'll be the luckiest woman in the village. Success. Both embryos implanted. The doctor pointed at the ultrasound screen. See, 2 gestational sacs. My mother touched her belly, trembling. Twins again. Both boys. Yes, both have strong heartbeats. The doctor said, on the bus back to the village. My father rubbed his hands with glee. When the boys are born, we'll have a 3-day feast in the ancestral hall. Mom, you look terrible. When we got home, I helped my mother sit down. Want some millet porridge? Chinyao kicked open the gate. Hungry, starving. Where's the food? My father was impatient. Can't you see your mother is sick? Get some bread from the kitchen yourself. Before, it was the worthless girl who did it. Chinyao pointed at me. Make food. My father, perhaps thinking about the healthy sons he would soon have, found Chinyao lacking. He actually glared at him. How are you talking to your sister? She's the one who took us to the hospital. All you do is eat, you good for nothing. Chinyao stared, wide-eyed, unable to believe his father, who had always doted on him, was suddenly being mean. Well done, old Chin. The village chief sucked his teeth as he looked at my mother's belly. Twins again. My father proudly tapped his cigarette ash. The ultrasound said both are boys. Chinyao sat on the doorstep, playing with a lighter. What does boys mean? Can I play? Play with what? My mother slapped his hand away. Those are your little brothers. Be careful not to hurt them. Sister, why does everyone say there are 2 brothers in Mom's belly? Chinyao blocked my way home from school. They also said I'm going to be out of favor. After my mother got pregnant, afraid Chinyao wouldn't take it well, my parents hid it from him. But as her belly grew, it was impossible to hide. I took out a baked sweet potato and broke it in half, giving him a piece. How could that be? When your little brothers are born, they can play with you. Like Tiju's little brother, he always helps him fight. Really? Chinyao grinned, drool running down his chin. Then I want brothers. I smiled coldly. I hoped he wouldn't regret it. When the final bell rang for the last exam of the college entrance exams, I smiled at the sparrows circling outside the window. On my application form, I had already filled in a university far away. In my savings account was all the scholarship money I had saved over 3 years. Teachers' college. My father Shook my admission letter. How much is that going to cost? Free tuition for teaching students. I pointed at the letter, plus a monthly living allowance. My mother rubbed her pregnant belly and muttered, "What good is so much education for a girl? Your mother having the baby is going to cost a lot. You'll send your living allowance home every month. You won't need that much anyway." My mother nodded. Right. We spent a lot raising you. It's time you contributed to the family." I nodded at each point. When I was far away, they couldn't make me do anything. Yao, come feel your baby brothers. My mother took Qinyao hand and put it on her belly. When they come out, I don't want brothers. Qinyao suddenly screamed, yanking his hand away. You're all so biased. I smiled. Yao. Are you afraid they'll take your room? Don't worry, Mom and Dad have already picked out a new room for you. What? Qinyao eyes bulged like a goldfish's. My transformers, in the woodshed for now. My father frowned. Your brothers need the sunny room. They said I'm defective. Now that you have brothers, you're going to throw me away. I said, don't say that. Mom and Dad love you best. Liar. Qinyao suddenly roared. My father picked up his belt. You animal. Don't you know your mother can't handle being startled? Don't hit Yao. My mother tried to block him, her pregnant belly leading the way. Worthless girl. Qinyao suddenly pushed her belly. It's all your fault. You're having those little brats. My mother staggered and fell hard on the brick floor. Scarlet spread beneath her. Miscarriage. My father grabbed the doctor's collar. They said the 8th month was safe. The patient took a severe impact to her abdomen, massive uterine bleeding. A nurse held up a critical condition notice. We need a family member's signature. I shrank on the hall bench, looking guilty. I couldn't stop Yao. Where is that monster? My father punched the wall. I'm going to kill him, you ungrateful son. My father's belt landed on Qinyao's back. Killing your brothers and you dare run away. My mother cried and cursed from her bed. I should have drowned you in the outhouse when I had the chance. I stood in the doorway. Dad, the village chief says if we don't pay, he's taking our land. It's all because of this animal. My father grabbed Qinyao's hair and banged his head against the wall. I watched, feeling a deep satisfaction. 2 months later, it was almost time to leave for college. Chunny, Mom boiled you some red eggs. My mother smiled ingratiatingly. Call often when you're at school. I avoided her withered hand. The bus is about to leave. Don't worry, I said, watching her hunched figure chase the bus in the rearview mirror. I'll live well. As the train passed through the morning mist, I traced my new name on my ID. Chen Chunny had become Chen Zhao. The train announcement overlapped with the memory of the midwife's curses. Dear passengers, the next stop is... After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your feelings in the comments. I look forward to hearing your voice.